One of the exciting parts about IKEA equipment is it did not use heavy machinery. This allowed it to be accessible for women who more and more were living on their own and people who were generally not interested in building furniture or just don't have a lot of saws and drills at home. Yet, I still hear wives claim that in the middle of their IKEA building project, their husbands come in with automated tools, like a drill, to screw together a shelf. Because IKEA wood is fabricated or synthetic, it breaks under the pressure of said drill, and what ensues is the well-known problem of using a hammer to crack an egg or an elephant to vacuum your living room, a la Flintstones. Welcome to We Are the Machines. I'm Dr. Deitra Sawh. This podcast is for those who want to use artificial intelligence. Through anecdotes and phrases, you will be fluent in AI in front of the executive team and at the dinner party. I explain how machines learn in the context of human learning and arm you with the right questions to be asking the machines or those who are building your business machines. You will sound like an AI rock star by the end of each episode. Let's get started. Eventually, everyone is going to have to accept automation and AI into their businesses to remain competitive. At this point, consider what work has to be done first. No one knows your system better than you, and you can talk about it all day from your perspective. But when it is time to describe your problem to the technology group, is there a conversation block? Usually this occurs because you are not speaking the same language, whatever that language is. And once again, we have a communications nightmare that results in those UI situations we discussed in episode 10. So before you do AI, map out your problem. It's like any journey. You need to pick a destination and map out how to get there. Your map is the system, and your destination is the transformation of it. It also allows you to develop options because you, the operator, will have to use these systems in the future. And what are those options? Well, you can identify them by figuring out what type of system it is. I will give you 3 examples, and you can tell me if any of them resonate with you. The first type is a linear or sequential process, and I will elucidate it with an example. In a restaurant kitchen, everything happens one after another. You cannot cook the food before it is prepared, and you certainly cannot serve it before it has finished cooking. Maybe you have a process like this. You receive a request in a queue, you analyze a request, and send a response. You cannot analyze the request before it is made. Another type is a decision-based system, where that request is evaluated and can be sent back to the user if it is incomplete. So there is a decision point after the request comes in to accept or reject. And finally, the third system archetype for today is when that request arrives, it kicks off many processes that can occur simultaneously without any dependencies on each other. This is an event-driven system. Maybe those secondary processes are linear or require decisions, but I think you get the point. You can try different systems to augment the current ones. All right, let's do a question to see who is listening. What type of a system archetype occurs after you place an order with Amazon? Is it linear? One thing happens after another? Maybe parts of it, like if the product cannot be located. But the inventory management, billing, preparation for shipment can all kick off once the order is received. For example, preparing and finding the logistics of your address can be done immediately after the order is placed. After doing this mapping and seeing your options, you may find that you don't need an AI agent to think and do for you. You just need some automation to make solving your problem efficient. An automated workflow is sequential, has well-defined steps that result in some output. No feedback, not really any decision-making. Whereas an agent is quite independent. You ask the agent to perform simultaneous tasks, improving daily through a feedback mechanism, some memory, and adapting to the environment. You need an agent when the system is making a decision for you. Maybe it's not a final business decision, but it is selecting which data to look at and how to present it to you, sometimes even providing the analytical text. Since automation can scale, there are many risks to building upon the outputs of your new system. Specifically for LLMs, many companies are using them to write code, as we discussed in our episode 7, Square Peg Round Hole. We discovered that the code is imperfect and requires rewriting at times. As you may have seen in your career, there are always areas for improvement in any system you use. Take my surgeon and her disappearing charts. Indeed, there is a balance that must be struck between usability and practicality. What can you live without? What can't you live without? Ask yourself those things before you choose to automate or use AI. At that point in the development process, the underlying code is hard to undo. Remember, once the agents become part of the infrastructure, it is hard to reverse engineer the intimate knowledge of inputs and outputs required for these embedded systems. A particular challenge with choosing between agents and automation is that business teams are not typically excited to map processes. They usually only do it when audit comes by or IT says you had better do this. I suggest that you embed this in a group exercise led by an expert so that all voices are heard, all perspectives are captured, and after an hour, the business people can go back to doing their business. And now, a moment for the human. How have your daily processes changed since AI landed on your phone? Does your brain come up with something and the minute it occurs, you ask Gemini or maybe take a picture? The part that has changed drastically is that we have expedited the thought, feeling, action process. That moment between when a thought occurs to you and the decision upon whether to act on it has been compressed from hours to milliseconds. Time is still the same, just your brain is moving faster, which creates a time compression and feels like stress in the brain and body. The machine is training us to not think, but act on every message, post, and like. And like a long conversation with a friend that fades with time, so do our millisecond social touches disappear in the wind. And it's another day of this way of communicating like a machine. Thank you for listening to We Are the Machines. I'm Dr. Deitra Sawh.